I'm going to give you a way of thinking about the brain that will help you to understand it and interact with it in a way that makes sense. Because what's important is not how the brain works functionally or anatomically or neurochemically. What's important is how the brain constructs information. A good way of doing that is think about the 5 questions that the brain is constantly asking and ask them ourselves. Be mindful of those 5 questions. So the gatekeeping part of the brain, which is the kind of lowest part of the brain, where it works hierarchically, a bit like in an organization, you've got the head office structured with the boss at the top and the kind of gatekeeping and the security functions right down at the bottom. That wants to know what's happening, right? So it's trying to keep you safe and it's responding reflexively. The next part, the timekeeping, is measuring patterns of signals over time to work out what's going to happen. So it's trying to interpret and predict patterns, and then it's going to give you impulses that prepare you for what's going to happen. That's your fight or flight response and things like that, and getting you ready for it before you're even aware of it. Then the next stage is the storekeeping. The question that's asking is, what do I do in order to protect resources I have or to gain resources from the world? And then the next stage is the bookkeeping, which is, okay, so what do I need? And this is the emotional part of your brain saying, we're trying to work out what's the right thing to do based on outcomes, right? So what might feel good in the moment, the bookkeeper is keeping track of things over a longer period of time and saying, okay, this isn't paying off. Therefore, you're going to start feeling more negatively about it, because that's your brain saying, we're not getting anywhere with this in terms of what our expectations, our life expectations. We're not getting the return on the investment of resources. And then the top floor, the rational part of the brain, the thinking part, that's where your thoughts are, the conscious bit of the brain that's putting everything together. That's saying, okay, what's my objective? And it's working out strategies of how to put a story on situations. When you're just responding to the world without goals, without purpose, you're reactive. So you act and then put a story on it. And that's why we do stupid things. That's why we make bad decisions and then have to justify our behaviors and tell ourselves silly stories, silly narratives. And the mind frame method is going to help you to give new scripts that tell the brain what is happening, what's going to happen, what you're going to do, what do you need, and what your objective is. When you're mindful of that and acting proactively rather than reactively, you can avoid your dysfunctional behaviors and behave in ways that are going to benefit you in the longer run.